Hello, hi everyone. I'm gonna keep this short because I know everybody's here for the food. But before we dive in though, I wanted to make a quick announcement. Woo Can Cook is opening its very first physical location in West Oakland at the Prescott Market Food Hall. Yes, after more than 3 years, we are finally graduating out of our 10x10 Easy Up tent into our very own real life kitchen, y'all. Before we do this though, I am also crowdfunding a small portion of our financing because it's gonna be really expensive. So there's a bunch of cool rewards that I think a lot of folks have been waiting for, like Woo Can Cook t-shirts, aprons, virtual and in-person cooking classes, and a bunch more stuff. So if this sounds like something that you might be interested in, it would mean the world to me if you could donate whatever that you are able to, or if not, simply sharing the campaign link also helps a lot too. More about this in the link in the description, or visit woocancook.com/eats for more information too. Okay, back to the food.
Hello, hi everyone. Welcome back to Woo Can Cook. My name is Wesley, and this is a show where we are slowly cooking our way through all of the food from my childhood. Today we're diving back into our series dedicated to foods from TV and film with the Scallion noodles from the film Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Here, sit. You know, he doesn't have to stay.
Who's he?
Becky.
Becky's a she.
You know me, I always mix up he, she. In Chinese, just one word, ta, so easy. And the way you two are dressed, I'm sure I'm not the only one calling him he. I mean her, him, I.
Okay, so for those living under a rock that somehow have still not yet seen this movie, first of all, what are you even doing? But second, and more importantly, the premise of this scene is that Evelyn is frantically throwing together a quick and easy meal for the family, which, based on what we can see in the pot, is pretty clearly some form of scallion noodles. Scallion noodles are, as you might have guessed, a noodle dish of Chinese origin that features a scallion or green onion that has been slow simmered in a low temperature oil to draw out their aromatic qualities, then tossed together with a round lo mein noodle. This makes for a flavorful, aromatic, 2-ingredient noodle dish that almost every Chinese kid has had at some point in their childhood because of how easy it is to make. This of course also means that there is a lot of room for us to play around with too, so for our version today we're going to do a sesame dandan inspired noodle in which the aromatic scallion oil is going to be combined with a little bit of sesame paste to yield a thick and creamy sauce to coat our lo mein noodles. Then to pair with this, because why not, since we are already making an aromatic oil today, I thought we might also explore a wider range of aromatic spices that can be used, with some star anise, Szechuan peppercorn, coriander, cinnamon, and Tianjin peppers, or in other words, my personal favorite 5 spices to use in a Chinese 5-spice blend. Okay, so let's get into it. Okay, so diving right in, we're kicking things off here first today with our scallions or green onions. Before you freak out, these are essentially the same thing. We're going to be slow simmering these in a low temperature oil today, then using the caramelized onions to finish our dish. This means that as they cook and give up their water, they're also going to be shrinking in size, so I'd like for these to be sliced into long, thin pieces in preparation of this. So I'm starting off by separating the whites and greens as we normally do, but then instead of slicing these into rounds, we're going to flip our stalk vertically, slice it in half to give us a nice flat surface to work with, and then slice into vertical strips, yielding these nice long pieces of green onion. Next up, moving on to our sauce base today. Now, a typical scallion noodle would have a pretty straightforward and simple array of sauces included, so as not to overwhelm the aromatic scallion oil. For our version, we're going to stick fairly close to this intention with one small addition, which will be the inclusion of sesame paste, inspired by pretty much any number of the dandan noodles that we have done on this channel already. So, up first here, this is 4 tablespoons of soy sauce to start, followed by our acids to give us some nice brightness. This is a tablespoon each of Shaoxing wine and rice vinegar going in. Then next, this is a single tablespoon of brown sugar for a touch of sweetness, and just a half tablespoon of dark soy sauce for some umami. Then next, as promised, this is 2 tablespoons of sesame paste going in, or for those looking for subs, tahini or plain old peanut butter would also work just fine too. We're whisking this up thoroughly to break up as much of that sesame paste as we can, adding a touch of water to help this along if needed, then setting aside for a moment while we dive into our aromatic oil next. Alright, so once again, for the simpler and more film-accurate versions of this dish, a scallion noodle is exactly as it sounds, scallions plus oil. For our version though, I thought it would be fun to instead assemble a slightly more aromatic oil, which is essentially borrowing the oil from our chili crisp oil recipe, but omitting the chili crisp. So, this is 4 cloves of garlic that I'm crushing and peeling, followed by 1 inch of fresh ginger that I'm similarly peeling and rough chopping as well. Then over on the stove, I've got my wok at a low heat, then I'm adding 1.5 cups of neutral oil. This is grapeseed, but canola or vegetable oil would also work fine too. Then here's my garlic and ginger going in, followed by our 5 whole dry spices that make up our Chinese 5-spice blend. This is a stick of cinnamon, followed by about a dozen dried Tianjin peppers, a single star anise pod that's been crushed open, and finally a tablespoon each of Szechuan peppercorn and coriander. I'm letting this simmer at low heat for about 20 to 30 minutes, stirring occasionally until our garlic cloves begin to start turning golden brown, like so. If you've done this correctly, your house should now smell like the inside of every Chinese grandma's kitchen ever because, congratulations, you've just made Chinese 5-spice oil. Back over on the cutting board, I'm passing my oil through a fine mesh sieve to remove these solids, then returning the aromatic oil back to the wok and letting it reheat once again over a low simmering heat. Then next, this is the whites of my green onions going in. We're giving these a solid 5-minute head start before adding in the leafy green portion, since these are a lot more delicate, and if we add them in at the same time, they'll cook unevenly. You remembered to separate these, right? Finally, we're letting this all simmer for about 20 minutes or so until our scallions begin to caramelize and are at about 80% doneness before killing the heat. Now, to be absolutely honest, these did get away from me a little bit, but not to fear. I'm simply separating the scallions from the oil in the wok so that we can effectively halt their cooking. Last up, in a separate pot, we're finally cooking up our noodles. I've got a pot of water at a rolling boil, then here's my fresh lo mein noodles going in for 2 minutes using some constant agitation as they cook. Back over on the cutting board, I have my largest mixing bowl awaiting as I strain our noodles and combine them first with our sauce mixture to start. Then I'm adding in my scallion oil, about a 1/4 cup at a time, mixing as I go and making sure that our noodles don't get too oily. Then last up, I'm adding in my caramelized onions, reserving about a 1/4 cup or so for garnish, and giving everything one more toss. Finally, I'm serving this all up with our reserved scallions to garnish and a shake of sesame seed, and we're ready to eat. Okay, so I am well aware that what we've ended up with here is really more of a scallion dandan noodle, which honestly I'm still pretty okay with because I think we stayed pretty close to the original intention of what this dish is, which is to say a pantry noodle dish with minimal ingredients. And while the composition of this dish is in fact dead simple, the array of aromatics and flavors is far from that. The bouquet of spices and fresh aromatics that we've infused into our oils yield a bright, rich, and flavorful quality to our noodle, all sourced from our aromatic oil. Then the crisp scallion finish adds a nice bit of crunch and sweet texture to our noodle that pairs nicely with the chewy lo mein that we used here. Finally, the last bit that I'll mention is that while it is absolutely true that this is a pretty simple dish, don't let the simplicity fool you because as with anything involving a low and slow simmer, there is absolutely a lot of room for things to go wrong. So don't wander off or get distracted as you bloom these aromatics and spices because no kidding, these things will burn in the blink of an eye if you're not paying attention.
Okay, so that's it everyone. I hope you enjoyed this and I hope you give this one a shot. For those who are new to the channel, this one is part of a larger series dedicated to foods from TV and film, so definitely check out that series next if you haven't yet because there's a lot of these. Also, in case you missed it, we've got t-shirts. I'm super excited to be partnering with my good friends at Pollywog Prints to make these super sweet Woo Can Cook shirts. They're super soft and comfortable and also have a picture of me on the back, which is crazy. We're selling these at the Woo Can Cook pop-up, or you can head over to woocancook.com/shop to grab one from the online store too. As always, like, comment, subscribe, share, be nice interneters, and I'll see you soon.